We're about to see how a grand historical narrative, this saga of conquering a desert, is secretly, intimately connected to a quiet personal moment, the simple choice you make when you're shopping for a new pair of jeans. Because woven into the very fabric of those blue jeans is a single thread of cotton, and if we just gently pull on that thread, it will unravel a story that takes us back across borders, back through time, all the way to a sunbaked field in the Chihuahuan Desert, where the fate of an entire region was decided. So let's go back to the early 20th century, to the birth of a city called Ciudad Delicias. Now, this wasn't a town that grew organically over centuries. No, this place was born all at once. A perfect modern grid drawn right onto the sand by engineers with a singular audacious vision, to impose geometric order on the beautiful chaos of the desert. For thousands of years, the lifeblood of this land was the Conchas River, a wild, unpredictable thing, swelling with summer rains and shrinking under a relentless sun. But modern ambition couldn't be tied to the whims of nature. So the river was broken. It was captured. Its wild spirit was tamed and forced into the predictable, manageable rhythm of a machine. And the scale of this control, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The La Boquilla Dam, just one of the dams, could hold over 3.2 billion cubic meters of water. That's not just redirecting a river, it's capturing its very soul and putting it on a strict, unyielding schedule. Here's how it worked. It was this vast concrete machine. Water captured in the dams was funneled into a massive 105-kilometer-long main canal. And from that artery, a complex web of smaller channels and gates delivered a precise amount of water to each plot of land. Just like that, in a single generation, farming was transformed. Farmers stopped watching the clouds for rain, they just watched a clock and waited for their turn. With this incredible new control, the landscape itself began to change, and fast. The rich, thorny, vibrant life of the desert was bulldozed, leveled, and replaced by a perfect geometric grid. And the farmers in Delicias weren't growing food for their communities, or a mix of different crops. No, they were growing just one thing, endless fields of a single commodity, nicknamed white gold, cotton. But here's the thing, all this cotton wasn't for Mexico, it was destined for a voracious market just across the border. In the United States, the post-World War II economy was absolutely booming, and it had an insatiable appetite for cotton to fuel a new consumer society. But this demand wasn't just economic, it was cultural. America wasn't just buying a raw material, it was weaving a whole new identity for itself. And at the very heart of that identity was a single piece of clothing, the blue jean. It was going from simple workwear to this powerful symbol of youth, of freedom, of rebellion. And this, right here, is that invisible connection. Every time a teenager in Ohio or California chose to buy a pair of jeans, that simple decision echoed thousands of miles south, shaping the very structure of life, of work, of an entire society built to satisfy that one single choice. By the 1950s, the economic numbers were just staggering. A single crop, cotton, accounted for a full quarter of the value of Mexico's entire agricultural output. But when just one single thread holds up an entire economy, well, that's not really a sign of strength, is it? It's a sign of profound dependency, just cleverly disguised as success. And that success must have felt intoxicating. I mean, the stories they still tell from those boom years are the stuff of legend. Like the one about a group of farmers who, while drilling for water, just happened to punch through into a hidden ancient aquifer. With that pure ancient water, they grew a cotton of almost mythical quality, so white, so pure, they called it vanilla snow. Buyers in the US were just stunned. The orders flooded in. For one incredible, spectacular year, those farmers had hit the jackpot. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, the treasure was gone. The well ran dry. Their miracle was revealed for what it truly was, a fleeting bit of luck in a high-stakes game they were always, eventually, going to lose. And right here, the story takes a critical turn. See, that Engineer River, as vast as it was, still couldn't quench the thirst of the global textile industry. So, farmers started to drill, systematically tapping into underground aquifers. They were pulling up fossil water, water that had been trapped beneath the earth for millennia. It was a liquid inheritance from a wetter, ancient past. And just like any other fossil fuel, once it was gone forever. At the absolute peak of the cotton boom, A new deep water well was bored into the desert floor on average every 5 days. Think about that. They were literally mining for water, spending a finite inheritance to finance a golden age that felt like it would last forever. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you're spending a resource that nature cannot replace, you're not really farming anymore. You're just counting down. And then something changed. It didn't arrive with a bang or a crash. It came as a kind of quiet whisper from laboratories and factories thousands of miles away, a whisper that would shake the very foundations of this geometric desert. Before the war, cotton was king. It had the global fiber market almost entirely to itself, but by the late 1960s, a new challenger had emerged from the chemistry lab: polyester. This synthetic fiber was a revolution, and in less than a single generation, it had captured a quarter of the entire market that cotton once completely owned. Now, it would be easy to say that polyester destroyed the cotton industry, but the truth is actually a bit more subtle and a lot more interesting. Cotton demand didn't just disappear, it simply had to compete for the first time. And that vast, rigid system back in Delicious, it had been engineered for only one purpose: to supply a single, insatiable demand. It was never built to adopt. It was never built to compete. And this small shift in the market was all it took to expose its fatal flaw. Because what looked like this incredible triumph of human engineering, this victory over the desert, well, it turns out it was something else entirely. It was a massive, rigid structure built on a foundation far less stable than sand. It was built on fashion. That system was never just about dams and canals. It was a whole tower of dependencies, with each layer resting precariously on the one below it. A dependence on that tamed river, a dependence on mined water, on foreign markets, and all of it, every single bit, was resting on the most unstable foundation of all: the simple, collective, and ever-changing taste of millions of people thousands of miles away. And that really is the heart of it all. The system didn't fail when polyester showed up. It had already failed years before, the very moment it became utterly dependent on a market it could not control. A market that, for one brief, glorious moment, loved cotton and then simply moved on. You know, we think of infrastructure as permanent, solid, concrete, and steel. But what this story shows us is that even the most massive physical structures are only as strong as the invisible cultural systems they're built to serve. That choice you made in your closet this morning, it suddenly feels a little heavier, doesn't it? And so, a question echoes from those dry canals in Chihuahua. It's a quiet reminder that behind the things we make and the clothes we wear, there are connections we rarely see, and foundations that are far more fragile than they appear. And it leaves you wondering, what other parts of our modern world are built on a foundation of fashion just waiting for the season to change? Basta. This is Mexico.
If something here opened a door, stay and subscribe. Basta is the second look. Mexico without the filter, without the shortcuts. New episodes every third day. See our suggested video in the box.